This has been a very, very frustrating weekend for us all. A lot has happened. You reported it. As many as 4 mass shootings over the last week. By definition, of 4 or more victims involved in one incident due to gunfire. Not anything that we stand proud of, but I will say 2 of the 4 have been cleared by arrest, and we're working to address the other 2. But nevertheless, we have to realize that there is some serious issues with regards to social norms and other activities in which I'm going to get into throughout this presser. But yes, we do know and realize that this has been an unusual weekend. We have been doing a great job at suppressing or dealing with crime over the last week. 285 crimes reported last week. We averaged 300, 360 per week. So we were having a great week with regards to addressing crime. But this weekend of violence sure outweighs what we had done all of last week. In each of our areas of concern with regards to crime, you hear me speak to homicide, non-fatal shootings, armed robberies. In each of those categories, we were down last week compared to the previous week. And that is why I defined last week as much of a success up until this weekend. We had 3 homicides and 4 shootings over the weekend, 18 victims of gunfire, 4 of which died since Friday. We had the 5 victims on Bourbon Street, 700 block of Bourbon, as well as 4 victims, including 1 deceased in the 7700 block of Schubert. If you remember last week, we also had several victims in the 1600 block of Iberville, in which the mother turned in her son for that homicide. And again, I want to thank that mother for being that responsible parent and making that difficult decision. Additionally, this morning, we had 2 individuals who were shot in the 1800 block of North Miro in the 5th District, one of which has since expired. We had 3 victims wounded in a domestic incident in the 300 block of North Villeray. That is a domestic incident and now has been cleared by arrest. In a couple of these incidents, the Bourbon Street, 700 block of Bourbon Street, as well as the shooting on Allen Street, I want to commend the men and women of the New Orleans Police Department. I want to commend our captains and Chief Thomas on being intentional and ensuring that they are placing their officers in the right areas. So with regards to these 2 particular crimes, the 2 particular shootings, our officers were Johnny on the spot. They were right there in the area when this occurred, in which they actually heard the gunfire. They responded to the gunfire. They called the incident in while responding to it. So that is evident that we are monitoring on a daily basis. We are adjusting our deployment on a daily basis and unfortunately this time it did not deter the criminal activity, but we know that we are able to place our officers in the right areas when need be necessary due to our daily monitoring of what we see in the city of New Orleans. But throughout it all, we have remained engaged. We've arrested 7 last week, 7 individuals for non-fatal shootings. 2 of these shootings occurred last week. The other 5 are weeks prior, but nevertheless, that is what when I speak to that commitment, that dedication, we have made several arrests, 7 last week, 5 from the previous weeks, but 2 of these incidents or arrests that were made for incidents that occurred last week, as well as 2 arrests for armed robberies. Within the span of 9 hours on Saturday going into Sunday, involving this Bourbon Street shooting, our 8 district officers arrested 3 individuals for possession of a firearm on Bourbon Street, beginning at 5 p.m. or 5:15 on Saturday at Bourbon in Orleans. We had a 20-year-old to be arrested in possession of a Glock Model 21 45 caliber weapon. This individual was from Shreveport. At 7:30 that same evening, in the 200 block of Bourbon, we arrested a 15-year-old in possession of a 9mm handgun. He is from Alabama. While responding to the shooting in the 700 block of Bourbon, we arrested a 17-year-old in possession of a 9mm as well. He is from Houma. So the common denominator, the common theme that we're hearing in this is that outsiders are bringing weapons to the streets of New Orleans. And we will not allow that. We do not allow our own citizens to illegally carry firearms, and we will not allow our visitors to do it either. We've also identified another concern. We've had 3 kids to be shot, 3 kids over the last week, a 7-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 3-year-old, all as a result of individuals being irresponsible in securing their weapons. The 3-year-old and the 7-year-old were shot by another child who was mishandling the weapon. The 2-year-old was a self-inflicted wound, as a result of the weapons not properly being secured. More and more and more weapons are on our streets and being handled negligently, either through improperly storing or securing them or improperly using them. Conflicts resulting in not just the individual that they're having the conflict with, that gun handler, that gun owner, but innocent bystanders being shot as a result of individuals mishandling firearm. These incidents remain under investigation, specifically with regards to the 3 children, our 3 kids that were shot in the city of New Orleans. Our child abuse unit is actively investigating each of these incidents. So again, my purpose today is to say, 1, to our visitors as well as our own citizens, we will not allow you to continue to carry or illegally carry firearms on the streets of New Orleans. Do not bring your weapons to New Orleans. New Orleans is not a place to bring your weapons. If you want to come to New Orleans, come to New Orleans and have fun, enjoy our city, but do not leave your firearms at home. Number 2, we need those gun owners to be more responsible in securing your weapons. We cannot afford to have another child killed, or not just killed, but injured as a result of a negligent person with the firearm. And last but certainly not least, we at the New Orleans Police Department, we remain committed. We will continue to monitor. We will continue to adjust. We will continue to do our part in holding individuals responsible when they're doing something illegal. With that, Gary, I'll answer any questions that anyone may have.
Well, we're here again. Same situation as last week. You were saying the a lot of just personal responsibility. Again, you had the cops right there at the corner, lights are flashing. Is there anything else you guys can do?
We just have to continue to do our job. This is something I've said throughout the process. We've seen our crime slowly come down and decline over the last few months, and that is because we have been doing our job, but this is our job. We remain committed to doing just that.
Do you remember ever having someone have people bringing guns, or is that kind of new?
It has happened. I can't say I remember them having it within this short period of time, but we've had incidents before in which individuals we've identified from out of town that had weapons within the French Quarter areas or throughout the city as well, illegally carrying them, illegally using them as well.
Chief, the victims in the latest shooting on Bourbon, were they from New Orleans or were the victims out of Tennessee?
They're from New Orleans as well, but we still have not identified a motive or established a motive on that. That is still under investigation. I think we have a mixed batch with all of this, but it's a lot that we still have to sort through. Like I said, the 17-year-old that was apprehended immediately after that, we still have to determine what was his involvement in there, as well as we have a still print. I don't know if we released it yet, or we may be releasing it after this, of another individual in which we will be looking for as a person of interest involved in this.
Is the NOPD finding the crowds on Bourbon because it seems, you know, I know it's back open since COVID and pandemic and everything's still continuing to go on. It seems like a lot of people on Bourbon Street at that time you see running when the shots are fired.
I mean, Bourbon Street has always been that area in which people gathered all day and all night. I mean, it was nothing out of the ordinary, but it was talking to my team that night, they had a very busy night, but nothing extremely out of the ordinary besides this shooting and those 3 gun arrests that they wind up having throughout the night.
Chief, do you have arrests in the other multiple shootings from the past?
Yes, Gary's going to get that to you. My team will be able to get that to you after this presser. I just try to keep it high level, but yes, we will be able to give you that information.
Anyone else? Yes, you?
I have an additional question.
Sure.
Chief, I know you said that you guys are adjusting, and things like that. The 8th district in particular, we've seen an uptick in the crime there, especially in that on the
Mhm.
Bourbon Street corridor. Are more officers, in the 8th district? I know that you guys are adjusting where they're being placed and things like that, but, is there any more attention on that district as far as, manpower?
We've always monitored that as well. The staffing there. You do know that there's some overtime that has been given to all of our districts. So our captains use their discretion as to how they're going to use that, and I know they have added additional staffing along the Bourbon Street corridor as the crowds have picked up over recent months.
Danny?
Just, you were saying last week too, sometimes crowds, alcohol, crime always a mix with firearms in there. I talked to one French Quarter resident last time who said maybe it's time to talk about reducing hours at bars, for example, and shut down. Is that anything you all consider or talk about, or what?
We have not actually had that conversation, but I will be very interested in having that conversation because there are some things we may have to look at possibly doing differently. You know, we as a city, we're known as the Big Easy, but you know, do we want to continue to be known as the Big Easy, and what does that Big Easy mean? So we really should have that conversation.
Last question, Advocate?
Chief, this,
Yes.
huge surge in COVID cases we've been having recently, has that affected your staffing and your ability to?
We have a few officers that are out as a result of either having it directly or having contact with someone through contact tracing, but nothing that has impacted us operationally at all. Thank you for that question.
All right, guys. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you again.